Hello students, I am your friend and guide Jitendra Kant, serving as lecturer in English at Government Senior Secondary School, Mandi Gobindgarh, District Fatehgarh Sahib. So students, today I am here to deliver a lecture on one of the very famous poems on his blindness penned by John Milton. Students, first of all, you must know about John Milton. John Milton was an English poet who used to write religious poetry. Half of his life was spent in writing poetry, and John Milton considered himself to be born to accomplish this task of writing poetry only. So he was very fond of writing, and he was truly in love with his profession. Not only that, he was a true disciple of God as well. He used to believe in the existence of God, and he was very trustful towards him. But unfortunately, at the age of 48, it is assumed that he lost his eyesight. And while he had a firm conviction and belief in the existence of God, so he had huge expectations from God. But when he lost his eyesight, he got confused as to what he shall do now. Shall he still keep believing in the existence of God, or he shall consider himself as unlucky, as disowned by God now? So out of his utter confusion, he wrote this poetry on his blindness. And you will notice one thing, that in the beginning he was confused as to whether the God exists or not, but ultimately, while he ended this poem, he realized that God is supreme, and whatever he does to us, wherever he keeps us, whatever he has for us is for our betterment. So again, without any doubt, he started believing in God. Now students, I really want to discuss this poem very eagerly with you, but before that, I have certain questions to ask you. My first question is, do you read poems? Tell me. Yes, alright. If yes, then what type of poems do you read? Can you categorize these poems? Okay, I shall tell you for your convenience that there are different types of poems. We have categorized these poems in the categories in front of you. First category is sonnet. A sonnet is a poem which contains 14 lines. Then there is another category of poems, that is ballad. A ballad is a poem which tells us a story. Then there is a lyric. A lyric is a very short poem accompanied by music. Then comes elegy. Elegy is a poem to mourn the death of someone who is very close to you or whom you love. Next category is ode. Ode is a poem that is written for a very specific occasion or to glorify a person or a thing. Apart from these mentioned categories, there are another categories as well, but our main concentration today will remain on sonnet. So students, have you ever read a sonnet? Tell me. Just think about it. Okay. On His Blindness, the poem that we are going to discuss today is a sonnet, and it is written by John Milton. So now let's see further what a sonnet contains. What does it look like? But before starting with the recitation of this poem, we have a pre-reading activity, that is vocabulary building. So we are having some words here which are used in the poem by the poet. We should have a good knowledge of these words in order to understand the poem well. Here it goes. First word is er. Er. It's an adverb that means before. Next word is lodged. Lodged here means something that is suppressed inside and that puts us in a difficult situation, that suffocates us sometimes, that is lodged inside. Next word is maker. Maker is God itself, the Almighty, who has made us, who has brought us to this world with a plan or with a purpose that only He knows. So He is the maker of our life. So we call the Almighty as the maker of our life. Next word is chide. Chide means to scold someone for not doing the work. Like it happens in the family also. Sometimes a child expects something and that is not fulfilled by the father or mother or anyone who is elder in the family, and a child starts to blame, and in return what he gets? A chide. An elder in the family chides the children because they know what is good or not so good for the child. So scolding, sometimes we get the scoldings from our parents, so that is child. Next word is murmur. Murmur is to say something continuously in a low voice. You might have seen that elders in the family, or the old women especially, they keep on telling the beads of rosary as well as murmuring the name of God, and visibly only their lips could be seen moving. So that is a kind of murmur. Next word is day labor. Day labor, the hard work which can be done with the light of eyes, means the work that we do which requires the involvement of eyesight. Say for example, the writers. Imagine, how would a writer write without eyesight? Is it possible? No. So writing is also a very tedious task, and all it requires is lot of concentration as well as eyesight. So day labor, that is called as day labor. Next word is yoke. Yoke is something that limits your freedom and makes life difficult, or a piece of wood placed across the neck of oxen. So students, you might have seen that in earlier times, while plowing the fields, a yoke would be placed on the neck of oxen, and those oxen would pull the plow in order to cultivate the fields. So yoke is a type of burden that is placed on the neck of the oxen. It's also called as the burden of life. A life is full of responsibilities, and with the responsibilities comes the burden. So yoke is used in that sense as well. Next word is post. Post here means to do the duty. Like the soldiers in our army, they do their duty well. They remain on their post to keep a check on the activities of the enemy. So they do their duty well. So in that sense, post word is used to describe a duty. So now students, I am going to recite this poem. Let's hear it now. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me, useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact a labour light denied? I fondly ask, but patience to prevent. That Murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. So this was all about the recitation of this poem. Now I am going to give stanza wise explanation. So let's be with me now. Here it goes. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent. So these are first 4 lines, and in these 4 lines the poet laments about the loss of his eyesight. He speaks about his life, that half of his life is yet to come, but there are darker days that he could visualize, and the broader world, the life is too long, and how he is going to spend his life without vision. So he laments here about the loss of his vision, and it is going to be burdensome now. So he expresses his inability to carry on with his talent. What is his talent? The talent is of writing poetry, that he believes he has born on this planet, on this earth, just to write poetry. So this was his birthright, to write poetry, but now he is lacking the vision. He has lost his eyesight. How will he be able to carry out with this talent? It's a matter of concern for him. And he also considers that leaving this talent of writing is inviting death. So it will be a philosophical suicide for the poet to live without writing. So he says that he has been rendered suppressed now, useless now by the God. But another thing that comes to his mind is that he has to write this, but out of this tragedy now, the loss of vision, he is completely shattered. In stanza 2, to serve there with my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact day labour light denied? I fondly ask, but patience to prevent. Now these are the next 4 lines, and in these 4 lines the poet says that he is determined, although he is blind now, but still he is completely determined to serve his Maker. Maker is God, who has given him this life, and he wants to present his true picture, whatever he is going through, whatever difficulties he is living through. He wants to give the detail of each and everything, account of each and everything to God. Otherwise he thinks God will be angry on him. He will scold him for not fulfilling his task. And what is his task? His task is of writing poetry. So he fears that God will scold him for not being faithful. And therefore, he politely questions God. Very fondly, he questions God that, God, you have chosen me now to be blind. Do you still want me to write poetry? This is what he asks God. So this is a type of murmuring, that inside he murmurs. He is confused. Out of his confusion comes out his foolishness, that he is questioning God. He knows that this is a foolish thing that he is doing, but still he wants to question God, and in return he seeks an answer to this question, that shall I still write? But you have denied me the light now. Still I want to write. So when he repeatedly questions this to God, soon that murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. So here the poet realizes that murmuring about or questioning about God is a foolish act. That these foolish thoughts come to his mind and they are stopped by his patience. Because at the same time, parallel to these questions, somewhere in his heart, in his mind, he knows that it is foolish to ask questions. The patience still prevails in him because he has been a disciple of God all his life. So that patience comes in between and replies that God does not want any gifts from man. Rather, he blesses people. He blesses his servants, those who serve him without question, those who offer their services without any question to God, and those who happily bear the burden that God gives them. And whatever situations God sets somebody in, they are happy with that. So questioning God is out of question. Next, his states kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. So further he says that the kingdom of God is very big. He is the owner of a big kingdom. Whole of this world, the planet, the universe comes under his purview. And thousands of angels, they are ready at his command. God commands those, orders those angels, and they carry out the tasks without questioning. They carry out those tasks to land and ocean. They travel from land to ocean and ocean to land and to the sky and back and forth without taking any rest. So they are always at the disposal of God. They consider it as their duty to fulfill the orders of God. And those who just wait for their turn to receive the orders, they also serve, and they are also taken care of by God. So this is what the poet understands ultimately, that questioning the providence of God is foolish thing. Whatever God gives us, wherever he keeps us, is best for us. So ultimately he understands that if he has been chosen by God to be blind, still his task is to accomplish his duty of writing. So this is his target. Till his last breath, he has to follow his ambition. This is his duty and he has to do it. right? So this is all about this poem. I hope students you have understood this poem very well. Now we are moving further. We have post reading activities. Now students, one another thing, activities are really very important. I want to tell you that if we learn anything by doing activities, it is going to remain in our memory for a long time. So these activities help us to examine the concepts and have a deeper understanding of the ideas, and we can organize that information for later retrieval. So activities are really very important. So our first activity, post reading activity, is these are 4 words in front of you. You have to make sentences by using these words. The first word is child. I hope you remember the meaning of child now. I'll give you some time. You note down these words in your notebook, and later you will write down these sentences by using these words. And after that I'll show you the sentences that I have made, so you can have an idea that how we can use these words in the sentences. Next word is murmur. So you have to use this word murmur and frame a sentence. Similarly, the word yolk, you'll be using this word yolk to make a sentence. Next word is post. Use this word post in the sentence. So I'll give you some time. Note down these words and make sentences. Students, I hope you are done with this. Let's see. So here, these are the sentences that have been framed by using these words. First word is chide. God does not chide his faithful servants. Second word, murmur. Murmurs are common in infants and children. Next word is yoke. The farmer released the yoke of the oxen. Next is post. Man has been assigned a post by God to pray and love all human beings. So these are the 4 words, and this is how these words have been used in sentences. We have another activity. In the first and second questions, you have to choose the correct option. This is MCQ. First word is, when I consider how my light is spent, means option A, Milton expresses his sorrow over the loss of his eyesight. Milton believes his eyesight will be normal soon. Option C, Milton is happy that he will stop writing now. Second question, present my true account, means options, Milton wants to show his account statement. Milton wants to use his poetic talent of writing. Or he has no money left in his account. So you have to choose the correct option as answer. Now moving further, question 3. Who steps in to stop that murmur? The word murmur is used in the poem. So now you have to answer this question. Options, God, patience, or king. Question 4. What it means when the poet says, who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. Options, those who accept his will happily are his best servants. Option B, those who accept life is a burden, do not worry about anything. Option C, life is painful, so do not expect happiness. Question 5. Man must adjust himself to the circumstances in which God has placed him. Options, unwillingly. Second option, cheerfully. third option, foolishly. Choose the right option among these options. Question 6. One should submit to the will of God without dash his authority. First option is questioning, second option is asking, and third option is accepting. So students, these were the 6 questions that you were supposed to choose the answers from the options given along the questions. I hope you have done your work. You have chosen your answers. Now I am going to show you the answers in the next slide, so you match your answers with the correct answers here. Here it goes. Question 1. When I consider how my light is spent means, option A is the right answer. Milton expresses his sorrow over the loss of his eyesight. So students, whatever you see in blue color on the screen is the right answer. Question 2. Present my true account means, option B is the right answer. Milton wants to use his poetic talent of writing. Now question 3. Who steps in to stop that murmur? Answer is patience. Question 4. What it means when the poet says, who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. Option A is the correct answer. Those who accept his will happily are his best servants. Now question 5. Man must dash adjust himself to the circumstances in which God has placed him. So right answer is cheerfully. Option B is the right answer. Cheerfully. Last question. One should submit to the will of God without dash his authority, without questioning his authority. Answer A is the correct answer. So these were the answers, students. Now I am going to give you the home assignment. This is really very important for you to do. There are certain questions given. You note down these questions on your notebook, and later you will write down the answers on your own. The first question is, write the central idea of the poem in your own words. So students, I am pretty hopeful that after listening to this lecture, you will be able to frame the answer by yourself. So you have to write the central idea, that what actually have you learned from this poem and what this poem is all about, what the poet is talking about. So that gist you have to find out and write in your own words. I hope you will be able to do it well now. Question 2. Who wrote this poem? It's just a kind of recapitulation. I am very sure that you'll be able to answer it very well. It's very easy for you now. Question 3. What is the meaning of the word maker in the poem? Options are given: God, poet himself, or servant of God. Among these 3, you have to choose one right answer. Question 4. Ere half my days means, option A, before half of his life is spent. Option B, half of his day is spent. Or option C, half of the life is already over. So these were the questions that you are supposed to do as your homework. With this, students, I shall take your leave now. This is all from my side. Thank you very much and keep up good work. Thank you very much.